What's going on, guys? It's Jordan DeYoung here, and today I want to talk to you about my opinion on whether you should travel, purchase a car, or buy a property first in your 20s. People often get asked the question, what would you go back and tell your 21-year-old self if you could? There's a mixed bag of results. Some say go and travel and experience the world, while others say work hard now and set yourselves up financially. Although I've heard majority of property investors say, I wish I had started earlier. I've also recently just heard an investment property advisor say that he would recommend his hypothetical 25-year-old son to go traveling rather than buy an investment property.
Buy a home to live in, or should I buy an investment property? What do you say to your 25-year-old?
Well, we sit down and work out what they can afford.
Right, Dad, I can afford $500,000.
Okay, and which city are you living in?
Melbourne.
Melbourne.
Better.
And how long do you plan to live in Melbourne for?
I'd like to live here forever.
Okay, I would suggest, son, that you travel. And
Rubbish. Nothing to do with property. That's right. Do it. Keep going.
That was David Johnson, who's an absolute legend, by the way, and I highly recommend going and checking out his podcast. So I guess it's completely up to that person's interpretation in life and if they deem financial independence or life experiences more valuable. So which court do I fall under? Well, actually both. You can most definitely achieve both by the time you are 25. My wife and I have done both over the last 3.5 years and have even recently purchased our second investment property at the end of all of it. Now, we haven't traveled the whole world, but we have done most of the hotspots over Europe, America, Malaysia and Indonesia. All up, we spent 4 months overseas, purchased 2 investment properties, a new car, and even got married over the last 3.5 years. Now, this isn't some Tim Ferriss 4-hour workweek hack or a 300k a year salary package lifestyle. Together, we don't earn anything more than the average Australian income. I'm on the corporate ladder and my wife runs her own business, and without her full attention, it often slows down cash flow dramatically. If we can do it, you can too. Essentially, it's all about your mindset, having smart money habits, understanding delayed gratification, and leveraging your money to get yourself ahead. If you want to know how to do all of this, all you need to do is make that little like button turn blue. Oh, so you don't want to know? There you go, thought you did. The hardest part is just getting started, and it can feel like forever away. But the younger you start saving money, the quicker it comes. I know it might seem cliche to say, but making your money work for you rather than you working for your money really generates wealth much quicker. If you don't have a job, get one. If you spend more money than you earn, stop spending. That's basically the 2 easiest guides to get started. I'm not going to talk about how to save money in this video. I've got a whole nother video dedicated to that, which I'll leave in the description section below. But do start with at least one job. On my relatively new podcast, I've been talking to property investors in their 20s. Majority of them have had 2 to 3 jobs to help them save as much as possible. But just get started with one job and put in place some good money habits. It's not about saving $200 or $1,000 a month. Some people earn $500,000 a year and they don't even know where their money goes. It's all about keeping yourself accountable and sticking to your savings plan constantly over time. The only person responsible for your finances is you. So take control of your money and don't let it control you. If you can only save $100 a month, stay true to that plan and watch it grow over time. I'm not here to tell you that you can't have your almond latte and smashed Avo every single day, although that is the name of my new podcast. But maybe instead of every single day, turn it into a once a fortnight reward rather than an everyday routine activity. It doesn't matter if you started mowing the lawn for cash at 13 and now you're 18, or you got your first job after finishing uni at 23 and now you're 28. It's never too late to take control of your finances, and if you think it is, it's only an excuse you're telling yourself, and all you need to do is change that mindset. So let's skip ahead a few years. You've slaved away over the last 5 years and been able to save $5,000 a year, which is only $100 a week. And in total, you've got $25,000 in the bank. You're faced with many options right now, and those unrealistic Instagram posts aren't helping out. You could buy a brand new car for $25,000, which you'll lose $3.5 grand on every year that you own it. Or you could tack on to your best friend's trip to Europe because they've got everything planned out but just need that one other person to lock in those travel deals, which you'll get some great life experience on, but you'll have to reset the savings for a house deposit. Or you could buy an asset that grows in value over time and use that growth to fund both a holiday and a new car, and even potentially, depending on how much it grows, a second investment property. Now don't zone out, I'm going to throw out some big words that may catch you off guard, but I assure you I'm going to go through them individually and explain how they impact you, and how you can use them to get yourself ahead. These include inflation, interest rates, capital growth, leverage, and equity. Have you ever had a conversation with someone in the older generation that goes something like, $8.50 for large hot chips? Back in my day, we used to be able to go down to shops and buy them for 5 cents. No, maybe it's just me and my grandfather then. But anyway, this is what we call inflation, where the price of something significantly increases over time. And it impacts everything from hot chips to Lamborghinis. Historically, in Australia, this has generally increased at around 2 to 3% per year, and it really means that last year's $1 is now only worth 97 cents. An interest rate is how much you either earn by saving money by putting it into a bank account, or how much you pay from borrowing money from the banks. Right now, you may be fully aware that we're in a really low interest environment, which means that you earn less from saving money and pay less for borrowing money. If you do a quick Google search, you'll be able to find some savings accounts posing with an interest rate of 2%. So let's say you left that $25,000 in a savings account. After 1 year, you would have earned $500 for doing absolutely nothing, and in total have $25,500 in your account. But if inflation over that same year was at 3%, it means that yesterday's $25,500 is now only worth $24,757.28. This is why it feels like you're always financially drowning, because the cost of living is always increasing. And if you're not in control of your money, it's easy to get caught gasping for air. This is a hypothetical example, of course, and these numbers always fluctuate, but at best, you'll always just be staying on top of inflation. If you want to learn more about the cash rate which impacts these interest rates, I've talked about it in another video which I'll also leave down below. What makes this even worse is if you use any type of personal loan, such as a credit card or a car loan, because not only are you paying interest on the money you borrow, but the money that you borrowed is worth less and less each year due to inflation. Especially if you're buying an asset that also depreciates in value, such as a car as I described before. So at the end of 5 years, not only is it worth significantly less, but you've paid all of the interest to the banks along the way. And the $5,000 it's now worth doesn't hold the same value as the $5,000 when you purchased it 5 years ago. So essentially, you're losing out 3 different ways. But you can't put a price on experience, you say. And I totally agree. This whole YouTube thing was basically born out of an experience and me wanting to give back. All I'm saying that is if you can implement delayed gratification, buy a house first and then enjoy the holiday in a year or 2, you'll end up in a much better financial position. Why? Well, capital growth, of course, which is just how much value a property increases over time. I hate talking about the Australian residential property market as a whole, but on average it's increased by 6.8% per year over the last 25 years. So before, when we were talking about 2s and 3s over inflation and interest rates, we've got a much bigger number at 6.8% growth in property. So that means instead of earning 2% in interest in a savings account on that $25,000, you could be earning 6.8% in the value of the property increasing instead. But wait, it gets even better when we throw in leverage. And what this means is you're able to use that $25,000 as a deposit for a $500,000 house. That's right, you can get a 95% LVR loan, which is just loan to value ratio, to leverage that $25,000 deposit and borrow $475,000 to buy a $500,000 house. On a $500,000 house, at a 6.8% increase, the value of the property would increase by $34,000 in just 1 year. That's a 136% return on your $25,000, instead of only 2% for sitting in a bank account. Yeah, take that inflation. This all comes together with that final term equity, which is just a difference between the market value of the property to what you currently owe on your mortgage. So if the price of the property is now $534,000 and your original mortgage is still $475,000, you have $59,000 worth of equity in that property. If you now refinance that property on another 95% LVR loan, you could pull out $32,300 of equity and put it into an offset account and use it how you want to, i.e. buy a new car, go on a holiday, or even buy a second investment property. Just note that by doing so, you're actually increasing the amount that you're borrowing by every cent you take out of that offset account, and you'll be paying interest on the money as you spend it. However, home loan packages are now going for as cheap as 2.99%. compared to 5% or more for a car or personal loan, or 10 to 20% for spending the money on a credit card. The best part is, now that you have this property, it should, based on history, repeat that 6.8% growth again next year. And this is compound growth. So instead of it increasing by $34,000, it would increase by $36,312. And every year moving forward, the growth gets larger and larger. This, of course, is a hypothetical scenario based on buying a good quality property that increases in value. properties can actually go down in value, so make sure that you're buying an A-grade investment property, which I've got plenty of other videos on. Also note that there are additional costs when buying a property, such as stamp duty, lender's mortgage insurance, banking costs, and legal fees. So you may have to reduce how much you borrow based on your deposit amount. But this capital growth is all happening in the background, whilst you're still working and saving as much as possible on top of trying to pay down that mortgage. I want to know what you guys think about these kind of videos. Please leave it down in the comment section below. As always, seek your own professional financial, legal, and property investment advice for your current situation. These videos are just my opinion and should never be considered as personal advice. If you're keen for more content, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification button so you don't miss a video. And until next time, happy house hunting.